If you've been stuck choosing between the Denon AVR-X2800H and the Yamaha RX-V6A, you're about to discover which receiver actually deserves your money and why the answer might surprise you. These two mid-range powerhouses have been battling it out in home theaters across America and Europe. But there's one clear winner depending on what you actually use your system for. Before we dive deep into this comparison, hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you want honest receiver reviews with no BS. Tell me in the comments which AV receiver you're currently using and what frustrations you're dealing with, whether it's HDMI handshake issues, app connectivity problems, or just disappointing sound quality. The battle of the mid-range champions. Let's set the stage. Both the Denon AVR-X2800H and Yamaha RX-V6A sit in that sweet spot where serious home theater enthusiasts shop, usually priced within $100 of each other. They're not budget entry-level units, but they're also not the flagship monsters costing multiple thousands. This is where most people land when they want genuine quality without remortgaging the house. Both are 7.2 channel receivers running Class AB amplification, meaning they use traditional proven technology rather than trendy Class D switching amps. Both support all the modern formats you care about: Dolby Atmos, DTS:X, 8K video pass-through, and gaming features like variable refresh rate and auto-low latency mode. On paper, these specs look incredibly similar. The Denon pumps out 95 watts per channel, while the Yamaha claims 100 watts. But in real-world use, that 5-watt difference is meaningless. You'd need to double the power to get a noticeable volume increase, so anyone choosing based on that number alone is missing the point entirely. Both have built-in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, AirPlay 2, and work with Alexa and Google Voice Assistants. Both have phono inputs for turntables. Both handle 4K at 120Hz and 8K at 60Hz, perfect for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X gaming. So if the specs are nearly identical, why does the choice matter so much? Because these receivers represent two completely different design philosophies, and understanding that difference is the key to making the right choice for your specific setup and listening habits. The Denon philosophy, cinema-first immersion. Denon engineered the AVR-X2800H with one clear priority: making movies sound like the cinema experience you remember. When you fire up an action blockbuster or an epic sci-fi film, the Denon wants to grab you by the chest and pull you into the sound. This receiver has a warm, weighty character that emphasizes bass and low-mid frequencies. Explosions don't just boom, they rumble through your room with authority. The sound signature is forgiving and smooth, which means even mediocre source material, think compressed Netflix streams or older DVD content, sounds better than it technically should. The secret weapon here is Odyssey Mult EQXT, Denon's room calibration system. This technology uses a microphone to measure your room's acoustics from multiple listening positions, then applies sophisticated equalization to correct for room problems. Your living room probably has bass modes where certain frequencies boom too loud, early reflections from hard surfaces, and all sorts of acoustic chaos. Odyssey analyzes all this and smooths it out, creating a more balanced, refined sound. The dynamic EQ feature is particularly clever, automatically adjusting the tonal balance at different volume levels so that late-night viewing at low volume still sounds full and engaging rather than thin and lifeless. For power users, Denon offers the Odyssey Editor app, a $20 add-on that unlocks serious control. You can see exactly what Odyssey is doing to each frequency, adjust the target curve, and fine-tune the correction to your taste. This level of customization is rare at this price point. However, there's a trade-off. Some critical listeners feel Odyssey can make things too polished, smoothing away some of the raw edge and detail in the upper frequencies. If you're the type who obsesses over every tiny audio detail, you might find yourself tweaking endlessly. The Denon also shines in its ecosystem integration through HEOS, Denon's whole home audio platform. You can group this receiver with HEOS-enabled wireless speakers throughout your house, streaming the same music everywhere or different content in each room. The HEOS app is mature and stable, with direct support for Spotify, Tidal, and other streaming services built right in. For someone building a connected home audio system, this integration is incredibly valuable. The Yamaha approach: precision and musicality. Yamaha designed the RX-V6A with a different mindset entirely. This receiver aims for neutral accuracy, a sound that reveals exactly what's in the recording without coloring or exaggerating anything. The tonal balance leans cleaner and more transparent, especially in the mid-range and high frequencies where voices and instruments live. When you listen to dialogue-heavy prestige dramas or concert films, the Yamaha presents vocals with crystalline clarity and natural timbre. It's not trying to impress you with artificial weight, it's trying to sound truthful. This philosophy makes the Yamaha particularly appealing to music lovers. Those 32-bit Burr Brown DACs handling up to 384 kHz sample rates aren't just marketing fluff. If you're feeding high-resolution audio files from a network music server or computer, the Yamaha can process that data with minimal degradation. Audiophiles who care about bit-perfect playback and subtle harmonic detail will appreciate this capability. The receiver also handles DSD files, the format used by Super Audio CDs, which the Denon cannot natively process. YPAO, Yamaha's room calibration system, takes a different approach than Odyssey. It focuses more on parametric EQ adjustments and speaker distance timing rather than aggressive frequency correction. The result is often described as more natural but less transformative. YPAO won't fix a terrible room as dramatically as Odyssey might, but it also won't impose as much of its own character on the sound. For listeners with decent room acoustics who want subtle refinement rather than heavy processing, YPAO is actually ideal. Yamaha's Cinema DSP modes are worth discussing because they're polarizing. These digital sound field programs add spatial processing to recreate the acoustic signature of famous venues, like a jazz club, a concert hall, or a scoring stage. Some people love the added sense of space and dimension these modes create. Others find them gimmicky and prefer pure direct sound. The beauty is you can ignore them entirely if they're not your thing, but having 17 different DSP modes means there's probably one that enhances your favorite content. The MusicCast ecosystem is Yamaha's answer to HEOS, and it's equally capable for multi-room audio. You can connect MusicCast soundbars, wireless speakers, and other Yamaha gear into a whole home system. The MusicCast app is clean and functional, though some users report it's slightly less polished than HEOS. Both ecosystems do the job, so your choice here probably depends on whether you already own gear in one platform or the other. HDMI and gaming, where differences emerge. Here's where specs tell a meaningful story. The Denon offers 6 HDMI inputs and 2 outputs, while the Yamaha counters with 7 inputs but only 1 output. If you're running a single TV, one output is fine, but if you want to drive both a TV and a projector, or send 4K to your TV while capturing 1080p for streaming, the Denon's dual outputs become essential. Think about your actual setup. Most people only need one output, but if you're that exception, the choice is made for you. Both receivers handle the critical gaming features: 4K at 120Hz for smooth high frame rate gaming, variable refresh rate to eliminate screen tearing, and auto low latency mode to minimize input lag. But the Denon adds 2 features gamers might appreciate. Quick frame transport reduces latency even further, and the Nature View upscaling can take older 1080p or 4K content and upscale it to 8K if you've invested in one of those new, massive TVs. Yamaha's upscaling stops at 4K, which is perfectly adequate for the vast majority of users, but technically less future-proof. In real-world gaming sessions, both receivers perform excellently. The pass-through is clean, the switching is fast, and the audio processing adds genuine immersion to game soundtracks and effects. The Dolby Atmos and DTS:X implementations on both units create convincing overhead effects when you have height speakers or up-firing modules. That helicopter flying over your head in a battle royale game feels spatially accurate on either receiver. Power and performance reality check. Let's talk about that power rating difference honestly. The Yamaha claims 100 watts per channel versus the Denon's 95 watts, both measured with 2 channels driven at 8 ohms. First, understand that these ratings are somewhat optimistic. When you're actually driving 5 or 7 channels simultaneously during a movie's complex action scene, the available power per channel drops because the power supply is being shared. Real-world power delivery from both units is probably closer to 70 to 80 watts per channel in typical use. Second, that 5-watt difference is acoustically irrelevant. To hear a doubling of loudness, you need 10 times the power. Going from 95 to 100 watts is a 4% increase. Your ears cannot detect that. What matters much more is how the amplifier handles difficult speaker loads, how clean the power is at high volumes, and whether the receiver stays cool or starts thermally limiting itself during extended loud passages. Both receivers use linear Class A/B amplification, which runs warmer than Class D but provides that classic smooth sound many enthusiasts prefer. Both have adequate cooling for typical living room use, though if you're stacking them in a closed cabinet with poor ventilation, you're asking for thermal issues regardless of brand. Give these receivers room to breathe, an inch or two of clearance on top and sides, and they'll run reliably for years. The sound signature showdown. This is where choosing gets personal because there's no objective winner, only the right match for your preferences and content. The Denon's warm bass-forward signature makes Michael Bay movies sound spectacular. Explosions have subsonic depth, engines rumble with authority, and the soundstage feels big and enveloping. It's an exciting, crowd-pleasing sound that makes you want to turn it up. If 90% of your viewing is action movies, superhero blockbusters, and bass-heavy TV shows, the Denon delivers that theater feeling effortlessly. The Yamaha's cleaner, more neutral presentation excels with different content. Prestige TV dramas with subtle, dialogue-focused soundtracks sound more natural and refined. Concert videos and music content reveal better instrument separation and tonal accuracy. The Yamaha won't artificially inflate the bass or add warmth where it doesn't belong, which means you hear closer to what the mixing engineer intended. If you're splitting time between movies and serious music listening, or if you prefer accuracy over excitement, the Yamaha aligns with that philosophy. Think of it like camera color science. Some smartphone cameras boost saturation and contrast to make photos pop on social media. Others aim for natural, accurate colors that match what your eyes saw. Neither approach is wrong, they serve different purposes. The Denon is the saturated, punchy image. The Yamaha is the accurate, natural one. Which you prefer depends entirely on your taste and intended use. Connectivity and smart features. Both receivers embrace modern connectivity, but subtle differences matter depending on your habits. The Denon's HIOS platform feels slightly more mature and has broader third-party support. Integration with Amazon Music, HD, Tidal Masters, and other high-res streaming services is seamless. The HIOS app gets regular updates and rarely has connection issues in my experience. Voice control through Alexa or Google works reliably for basic commands like volume, input switching, and playback control. Yamaha's MusicCast does all the same things, but with a slightly different interface philosophy. Some users prefer it, finding the app more intuitive. Others report occasional Wi-Fi dropout issues that require router restarts, though this seems to depend heavily on your specific network setup. Both platforms support Spotify Connect, meaning you can fling music from your phone to the receiver without going through Bluetooth's quality limitations. Both support AirPlay 2 for Apple ecosystem users, which is a must-have feature in 2026. The phono inputs on both receivers are a nice touch for vinyl enthusiasts, though neither is going to replace a dedicated high-end phono preamp. They're moving magnet inputs suitable for most turntables, and they do the job adequately for casual vinyl listening. If you're a serious vinyl collector with a high-output moving coil cartridge or exotic setup, you'll probably bypass these and use an external phono stage anyway. Real-world user experience. Setup complexity is similar on both units. You'll unbox the receiver, connect your speakers, plug in HDMI sources, and run the auto-calibration with the included microphone. Both processes take about 30 to 40 minutes if you're methodical. The Denon's Odyssey routine measures from 8 positions and takes longer, but produces more sophisticated correction. Yamaha's YPAO measures from 1 position with the option to add more, making it faster but potentially less comprehensive. The on-screen menus are where Yamaha pulls ahead in pure usability. The GUI is cleaner, more modern, and easier to navigate without consulting the manual. Denon's menu system is functional but feels slightly dated, with nested submenus that can be confusing when you're hunting for a specific setting. This is a small thing, but you'll interact with these menus whenever you adjust settings or switch configurations, so aesthetics and logic matter. Remote controls are typical modern receiver remotes, cluttered with buttons for legacy features most people never use. Both receivers support HDMI, meaning your TV remote can control basic functions like volume and power. Both also have apps that turn your smartphone into a remote, which is usually faster than hunting for the physical remote buried in your couch cushions. Reliability and long-term ownership. Both Denon and Yamaha have strong reputations for reliability, but no electronics are immune to issues. The most common problems reported across both brands involve HDMI handshake failures with certain TVs or sources, usually resolved by firmware updates or cable swaps. The Denon has seen occasional reports of HEOS connectivity dropping, requiring network resets. The Yamaha has had some early units with YPAO microphone calibration errors, though Yamaha addressed this in later production runs. Warranty coverage is standard 3 years for both in most markets, which is adequate but not exceptional. Extended warranties through retailers might be worth considering if you're risk-averse, though statistically, if these units survive the first year, they'll likely run for a decade. The electronics inside are mature technology, not bleeding-edge components prone to early failure. Firmware updates are crucial for modern receivers because they fix bugs, add features, and improve HDMI compatibility as new devices launch. Both companies have decent track records here. Denon tends to release updates more frequently, sometimes monthly. Yamaha's update cadence is slower, but each update is more thoroughly tested. Neither approach is objectively better. Frequent updates can introduce new bugs, while slow updates might leave issues unresolved longer. The verdict: choosing your champion. So after all this analysis, which receiver actually wins? The answer is neither or both, depending on who you are. If you're a movie fanatic who wants that cinema rumble and immersive soundstage, who values plug-and-play ease with powerful room correction, and who might expand into a HEOS multi-room system, the Denon AVR-X2800H is your receiver. It's tuned for excitement, it integrates beautifully into smart homes, and that second HDMI output adds flexibility for complex setups. If you're splitting your time between movies and music, if you value tonal accuracy and clean transparency over bass weight, if you plan to feed high-resolution audio files, and want bit-perfect playback, and if you prefer 7 HDMI inputs for a source-heavy setup, the Yamaha RX-V6A is the better match. It's the thinking person's receiver, less about wow factor and more about long-term satisfaction with faithful reproduction. Neither receiver is a bad choice. Both deliver excellent performance for the money. The real loser here is anyone who buys based solely on specs or price without understanding these philosophical differences. You could own the Denon and be frustrated by its smoothed over highs, or own the Yamaha and wonder why movies don't slam as hard as you expected. Match the tool to the job and either receiver will serve you brilliantly for years. The battle between the Denon AVR-X2800H and Yamaha RX-V6A perfectly illustrates why mid-range AV receivers are such personal choices. These aren't just spec sheets and power ratings. They represent different approaches to sound reproduction, different priorities in feature implementation, and different philosophies about what home theater should feel like. The Denon says home theater should be exciting, forgiving, and cinema-focused. The Yamaha says it should be accurate, versatile, and musical. Your winner depends on your content diet, your room, your ears, and your expectations. Do yourself a favor and actually listen to both if possible. Bring familiar content to a dealer, sit in a room with comparable speakers, and trust your ears over any review, including this one. The best receiver is the one that makes you excited to watch and listen, the one that disappears and lets you focus on the content rather than the gear. If you found this deep dive helpful, smash that like button and subscribe for more honest AV gear comparisons. Drop a comment telling me which receiver you're leaning toward and why, or share your own experiences if you own either of these units. Let's help each other make better decisions in this confusing world of home theater. Thanks for watching, and remember, the best system is the one you'll actually use and enjoy, not the one with the most impressive spec sheet.